Yo, welcome back to a week zero podcast. What the? Presented by No Context CFB. What the? Over here with the transfer portal CFB doing actual college football content for a podcast with games coming up that we're going to be able to watch with our very own two eyes and see on live TV, not even Peacock this week, a little Pac-12 network, but a lot of games on actual TV. This is crazy. So we have Parker here and our good friend Raza to celebrate. Hey,
Hello. It's like
that was
Christmas in
amazing.
August.
Yeah, it's Christmas or something like that. Raza, good friend of the program, as all the other podcasts say, but he's our very good friend, our best friend of the program,
Oh,
and
thank you.
he's doing big things this fall. Let me tell you what. Well, no, let him tell you. That sounds better.
Well, thank you for having me back. First of all, I appreciate the best friend comment. I know, I've been around for a while and it's good to always to hop on and I really enjoy doing this. But yeah, this is a big time for me. I'm starting my work in the professional world of college football. So going to be on the Hokies beat this semester for Virginia Tech football. And then I will be a voter in the student media poll. You can check that out at student media 25 on Twitter. I'll submit a ballot every week. My preseason ballot's already up, so you can go yell at me for that.
All
I
right.
know, I know. Liam was upset that I didn't have Duke in there.
Oh,
So if
I
anybody
did.
else has anything to yell at me for, please. I
That's
mean, I'm
awesome.
sure Liam is the expert at getting yelled at with his polls. So
I was also very mad you didn't have Western Kentucky. Please, please, please.
on the outside looking in, that's all I'm saying.
It's not enough, man. Come on. But yeah, glad to have you on with us again. Week zero. This is nuts. We actually got to talk about real college football. I know it's wild. It's crazy. We don't have to talk about what went down in 2012 and do all this revisionist history. We got stuff we could actually look forward to and digest, I guess. I don't know why I said that, but like consume. Yeah, good college football to consume. Parker, first thought when you look at the week zero slate, what goes through your mind?
Yeah, I mean, I had to kind of on the theme. I had to yell at someone the other day for saying that football doesn't start till next week. That was really upsetting when I heard that from. But yeah, in terms of the biggest thing, I mean, I'm looking at. I mean, a big fan of the Ohio San Diego State game, but I'll kind of leave that to maybe someone else. I think the two kind of, I guess, quote unquote notable programs that are playing Notre Dame and USC on Saturday, labeled kind of as tune-up games, should be fairly easy. I'm here to say I don't think they're going to be, at least one of the two of them is going to get a test that they don't expect. Navy has the tendency to play Notre Dame close, even when they've been kind of an inferior team in the past. And San Jose State coming in there with that offense. I think if USC, if they get caught sleeping, they could score some points with them and make that a second half game. So I think both of them definitely need to be on the lookout in a kind of a sleepy week zero setting that neither of them are really used to.
I mean, this was like the perfect way to bring the week zero podcast into the mix was Parker. Someone else other than me saying top team needs to watch out for the little guy, giving them a fight, a scrap. Navy Notre Dame's super interesting, obviously out there in Ireland. I think it's a fascinating matchup because we need to see Marcus Freeman and this Notre Dame team really take a step forward early on before the Ohio State game and truly show good signs of life before then and get us to believe in that team and that program. But on the other side with Navy, like these academies, I there's a lot of people out there that really aren't aware that like these three academies Air Force already has, but Navy and Army are just switching up the offensive scheme, and it's going to be a different style of ball. And Navy's going to go more shotgun this year. They hired Kennesaw State's offensive coordinator. Fans of the turnover plank will be happy to hear that, but they're going to be doing a lot more like shotgun sets and again, funky with the option game. And I know a few players and like staff have said is completely different from what we've used to run. And Kenny Amatololo is no longer there. Like it's going to be super different from Navy. And I'm very excited to actually watch Navy this season. I think it might be tough coming out the gates for them. But I do like possibly investing in Navy in the middle of the season and banking on them to get it rolling. I'm fascinated by what they could do.
Yeah, and I think that, it could be a statement game for Navy and kind of this new era if they are able to contend. I think that the expectation is that with those three academies adjusting to the triple option, even or adjusting the new change of the triple option, even with all that Air Force has back, there's going to be at least a couple games early in the season where they're kind of feeling things out, getting used to what the personnel can really do with that. So it's a tall order for them to go in there, but I mean, who knows? Over in Ireland last year, Northwestern won their only game of the season. So I mean, at that rate, I consider anything could honestly happen.
Raza, how about you? First thing that you think of when you look at this slate?
Well, honestly, I'm just going to echo what Parker said because the very first thing I think of is just Ireland and how much I love that we're playing football in Ireland again. I want there to be games in Dublin every year, especially the Northwestern and what they were playing. Was it Wisconsin last year in Ireland? Nebraska. Yeah, I was which red wearing Big Ten team. And I remember those uniforms being less than ideal, but I love this year's uniforms. So send more games to Ireland with more cool uniforms in week 0 because that is what football needs. But I also think Notre Dame and USC, I know we're going to get into it a little bit later, but there are two programs that I think are just riding preseason hype because they're Notre Dame and USC and the programs, reputations precede them. I don't think it'll be easy for either team, especially for Notre Dame, because I just think these games can be really funky, traveling way overseas. Well, I guess Ireland's not too far overseas, but it's a really weird environment. And they got it rolling at the end of last year, but they were in a very much of a funk to start last year. I think they should be cautious of being in a funk to start this year as well. It's not an easy schedule, so they have to take these quote unquote tune-up games while they can. Mm-hmm. But I don't think it'll be, I mean, a 20.5 point spread or something, I think it's like that, is not, I think, fair. And I think that maybe people should tread lightly around that number. Also the USC number, but I think USC, my take on them is their offense has the capability to win any game, and they can run away from any other team's offense. But that number is also huge. So, and against San Jose State, who could definitely make things interesting, like Parker said in the second half of that game, just because they can keep up. I like those two dogs in terms of if we're talking numbers.
Against the spread. The one that stood out to me was maybe the Navy Notre Dame under. I think it's like 50.5, or maybe doing like a first half under in that game and just banking on Navy to really be sluggish at the start of it with the new offensive change and everything. But look, I told you yesterday, I was writing the most idiotic article I've ever written. And if a leprechaun goes streaking on the field in that game, I look like the biggest doofus of all time for actually guaranteeing that won't happen. And I mean, I could get old takes exposed like nobody has before. So hopefully that doesn't happen. They got on the fly really quick. This is something we actually did last year, was talking about where we would like to see a college football game played next. Like we've had Australia in the past. I would love for another game in Australia. It was Stanford Rice a few years ago. I remember Jason Benetti calling the game for absolutely zero reason, but I believe that was in Melbourne. I would love to see another game there. Well, where are some places that you would like to see a game? Maybe Antarctica, Alaska, Montreal, Paris.
Maybe a naval ship in the middle of the ocean, like we put a college basketball game.
Stop! No, the wind, man, the wind.
I mean,
there's just gonna be a giant wave crashing down, two lanes playing, and then it's just gonna get memed to death.
I mean, I'm a little biased. I thought the game, like at a racetrack, was really, really cool. But in terms of like foreign locations outside of the country, I mean, I've lived outside of the country and I can't even think of a place that would be great.
I would love to see a game in like Tokyo. Like I never got to experience that. Like you haven't here. Like when we were kids, like we didn't get that. All those like posters and stuff was way before our time. If we got a game in Japan or like Tokyo or maybe Seoul, South Korea, I think that'd be really interesting.
What if we put a football field in the middle of the Colosseum in Rome? and had a
That got
real
brought
old
up
style
last
gladiator
year.
fight.
That got brought up last year, and we said make it USC against Troy.
Troy.
It would be amazing. We have the script. It's the NCAA just has to take action.
All right, well,
I mean,
we'll
yeah,
get
because
that
you
cut up.
saw the NFL's going into London and Germany this year. I feel like London's probably an easy pick that they haven't really gone into that much. I guess throwing out another one, I don't know how popular college football might be in South America, but just knowing that some of those soccer stadiums are just so A, massive, B, just notorious and crazy fan bases down there. Maybe delving into that continent might be worth it in some regard in the future. I don't know. It's another one to throw out there.
Brazil has a sneaky strong college football like Twitter fan base thing.
Really?
Sneaky strong. And
Where
even
are they
like
fans
Japan.
down there?
I don't know. There's like I'll just see him quoting no context all the time, and it's like in Brazilian. I don't know what it says, but like, and then like it happens to sickos and like other brands that are outlets too, where they got a sneaky strong following. Obviously, Japan has really quality college football there. I know that there's a university in Japan that's playing Western Oregon, is it, or someone? They're playing a game in the spring sometime next year or in 2025. Western Oregon or Simon Fraser from Canada. I could be completely wrong, but I believe that game is happening. So like that's sick. But we'll move on instead of the international flavor. I'm sorry. Favorite storyline for week 0?
I guess I can start it off. I just think in terms of, I mentioned that Ohio San Diego State matchup. I just think the winner of that game, albeit it is of course early, but the winner of that game emerges as a major contender in their respective conference. And a loss doesn't, completely throw either team out of the picture. But I think a win over, past 5 to 10 years, two of the, historically better group of 5 teams. And this season, 2 teams that have pretty high expectations for what they can do. Winner of this game will make a big statement early on. I think we'll be able to do the classic week 0 kind of, overemphasizing and looking into all these wins where people are like, oh, Ohio beat San Diego State by 20. They're going to go undefeated and make the New Year's 6. I feel like we do it every year. I'm looking forward to doing it again this weekend.
Yeah, there were 2 games that kind of jumped out to me. The first is SC State against Jackson State, because all the eyes are off Jackson State now. So the question is, what do they look like in this kind of post, having documentaries made about them and all the, just everything surrounding Deion Sanders now gone. So many of their best players went with him. So what do they look like in this post-prime era? I think that's going to be very interesting to see. But I think the single team I'm most excited to watch is Vanderbilt. And I never thought I'd ever say that in my entire life. But I think there's a real chance that Vandy is a 5 to 6 win team potentially, and it starts with what should be an easy win against Hawaii. But I'm just thinking, if Vandy comes out and plays the way that they should play and they win by, let's say like 17, 20 points, I would feel really vindicated. So I never thought I'd say it,
hesitant saying it though.
Well,
5 or 6. Clark Lee's looking at you like, dude, I'm saying we're going to be the best program in the country. You better be confident about 5 or 6 wins.
I mean, I
was going to say shout out AJ Swan and Will Shepherd though. Those are going to be, if they get those 6 wins, those are your guys doing it.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I mean, I think obviously best program in America. I love the confidence. I have that running through my veins, but I'm just in a conference with teams that are very overhyped. Vandy can make some noise.
So first off, I'm very proud to share that I did look up it's Kwansei Gakuin playing against Southern Oregon in 2024. So I was very close. Unfortunately, wrong about Western Oregon. Simon Fraser. I mixed up a Canadian team and with the whatever. First thing I look at when I look at the week 0 slate is Curtis Rourke is back, baby. And you guys knew exactly what I was thinking. This man, we're okay. Well, actually, I had a little shtick planned for us too, and I just whatever. Where were you guys? Do you guys remember where you were on November 15th, 2022?
I don't know, probably traveling home for Thanksgiving, maybe, or I don't know.
Yeah, I want to say I was getting ready to go to New York City where I spent Thanksgiving last year.
Okay, very interesting. Near, you guys remember, very interesting. I was sitting out there on the couch watching some action, watched Carson Steele get hurt in the Ball State Ohio game. I was very disappointed, and my father, Mr. Markey, is talking about, I can't believe Carson Steele's hurt. Like, did I jinx him? I'm like, dude, come on, don't hurt anyone else. Kershaw gets hurt, torn ACL, torn meniscus. November 15th, 2022. Salt in the wound. It hurt a lot to see Rourke and Steele go down. And now I can finally watch Curtis Rourke play football again. So I'm very much looking forward to that and glad that he's healthy and way ahead of schedule all offseason long. He's going to play some dang good football.
And it'll be on television.
It will be on TV, as every action game should. Let's go to the boring stuff, though. Heisman pick, Heisman sleeper finalist.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and start out. In terms of my Heisman pick this year, I mean, gut check says Caleb Williams again, going back to back, but I'll go ahead and say Blake Corum stays healthy the whole season, guides Michigan to potentially another playoff berth, kind of behind what he's doing. I do agree that splitting the carries potentially with Donovan Edwards might hold him back in some regards. But I think Corum's going to be determined to kind of bounce back from that end of season where he was really on the path to certainly be in New York and have a good chance at winning it. I think he's going to really be motivated coming out this season, and he's going to replicate, if not improve upon what he did last year. So I'll take him. And then in terms of my sleeper pick, I'm going to say that everything works out in Madison, Wisconsin, and that the air raid system. And you coined it the dairy raid. I almost forgot about the dairy raid.
I didn't point at that.
The dairy raid works out, and Tanner Mordecai ends up a Heisman finalist. He just continues what he did at SMU with better talent around him. Well, somewhat, mostly better talent around him, and he ends up a Heisman finalist.
If he's a Heisman finalist, I might never get hired anywhere for the rest of my life.
I was going to say, I love that take, but I think Liam would have to disappear off the face of the earth.
Mm-hmm. We'll talk about it later. Maybe. I don't know. I just can't see it happening, man. It's 2023. I cannot believe that it's 2023. We're days away from the college football season starting, and all offseason we have been drowned with this idea that Tanner Mordecai and Phil Longo is going to be the duo to revitalize Wisconsin football and Luke Fickell's first year. But that receiving core, I just think that's ludicrous.
They're just going to give Braylon Allen like 300 carries.
300 receptions. 300 receptions, actually.
And Tanner Mordecai is just going to run away with the QB wins narrative, throwing 15 of 17 every game. Sick.
Beautiful.
How about you, Mr. Raza?
I am going to stay in the Big Ten. Again, I agree with Parker that gut check definitely says Caleb Williams, but my take on Caleb Williams is this. What's more on my take on USC, right? So many times we just give the Heisman to the best player on the best team, and if not, like the best player on one of the best teams. USC, I have some opinions on them. I don't think they'll be in that conversation when we get into November and December. So I'm going to say that the Heisman goes to the best player on a team that will be in the college football playoff, which is Marvin Harrison Jr. A bit of a, underground guy. I'm not sure if anybody's ever heard of him, but
Who's his father?
I don't know, some apparently named Marvin Harrison. That's all I know about
That's
him.
all we know.
But Marv is just a freak. And I think he will put up the numbers, and Ohio State will be in like the big games. They'll get in the playoff, I think. And it'll just be that it ends up being the best case for him down the stretch, kind of like it was for Caleb last year. I mean, there were a few weeks towards the end of the season where it looked like, CJ Stroud would get it. And then when they lost to Michigan, it was like, all right, it's going to be Caleb's award now. We tend to see that happen from time to time. And I think that's probably going to end up being the case with Marv. I think it's a real possibility also that whichever quarterback starts for Ohio State is in that conversation, just because of the embarrassment of riches that he will have at his disposal. I assume it'll be Kyle McCord, and I think the McCord Harrison connection, which dates back to their days in Philly, will definitely help out. But my sleeper finalist.
Well, I thought you didn't know anything about this Marvin guy.
Oh well, okay, maybe I know a little bit about him.
Okay.
But my sleeper pick is not from the Big Ten. My sleeper finalist is going to be Harold Perkins.
I like it.
Because I think if any defensive player enters the conversation this year, kind of a la Aiden Hutchinson 2 years ago, I think it's Harold Perkins. Because, I mean, the stuff he flashed last year was ridiculous. The things that Arkansas game was just, I mean, you never really see games like that in college football, especially from a freshman.
Yeah, Malik Hornsby, who is like world-class speed, is literally just in a haunted house that game. Like he was seeing ghosts the whole time, like Sam Darnold talks about. Harold Perkins was haunting this man, and he wasn't being friendly like Casper. Like this was demonic.
Yeah, and I remember last year we were talking about how much we wanted to see Malik Hornsby over KJ Jefferson, and then that game just, I mean, yeah, definitely still do.
We'll see what he does with GJ at Texas State. Hopefully, TJ Finley doesn't beat him out.
It's 2023. I cannot believe we're still hearing some of the names that Tanner Mordecai is in that conversation, by the way. I remember him being Kyler Murray's backup. That's ridiculous. Like
Rank Keithy's in the convo too, because I'll look up his age. I'll be like, how is he not 35 years old? I swear I've been talking about this guy as a good NFL fit since I got onto Twitter.
JT Daniels at Rice, another one. I mean,
yeah, I mean, that's crazy.
Slovis.
I mean, but I love Harold Perkins. I think if he's not currently the best defensive player in the nation, he definitely will be by the end of the season. There's a lot of other guys, especially in the SEC, you can throw in that conversation. I really thought about Dallas Turner because I think, again, he's just a freak. And I think Alabama's going to win the SEC West. I think they're going to make the college football playoff. So Dallas Turner will also be in that conversation. But I feel like there's just too many dogs on Alabama's defense for just Dallas Turner to shine. I think LSU also definitely has dogs, but I think Perk's just going to run with the national spotlight over any guy on Alabama or even Georgia this year. So if there's going to be a defensive player, I think it'll be him.
And he has the big help and the benefit of being a freshman sensation and garnering so much media hype already. He doesn't have to earn the respect that some of these other guys have to. And, that's a problem with the award, right? Is you have to earn a lot of respect and really capture the attention of these lazy and uninformed voters. Like, it's just what you've got to do. It's so unfortunate. Caleb did the unthinkable weighing in the West Coast. And then we have the fact that if you don't play quarterback, you're probably not weighing in. That's also just very lame. Because I would love, I kid you not, man, if Joe Alt goes out there and has a historic season as a left tackle for a Notre Dame team that makes the playoff, why can't we talk about Joe Alt as at least a Heisman finalist? Like, if he doesn't go, just imagine a world where we're talking about a left tackle of a playoff team who doesn't give up a single pressure all year, a QB hit. That guy should be in the Heisman candidacy. Like, come on. Regardless, though, Drew Aller at plus 2,400 at my bookie. I'm going with him to be my Heisman pick. I do think it's going to be a quarterback. Wow. And if we do this, well, I don't do this thing, but many people do this thing where when we're talking about college football in the summer again, right, for the upcoming season, people don't be projecting, and I don't really get that at all. I think you look at Drew Aller, you should be projecting a monster year. They finally have a legit quarterback at Penn State who is actually of high NFL caliber. You're looking at the guy, I think he's already a top 5 quarterback in the sport going into the season. He's going to be the number 1 quarterback going into the 2024 season. We just saw Caleb swoop in there and win it in his sophomore season. I don't see why a guy like Drew Aller can't. Plays a 2-game schedule, goes at Ohio State. If he beats them, and then you have Michigan later on the season, and you were talk about the whole stars aligning aspect, Raza. Well, if he wins at Michigan November 11th, I'm looking at, he plays Rutgers at home and then at Michigan State on a Friday night. The stars align right there, because you would think after being Michigan, Penn State's undefeated, all the Heisman talk is there. Now he's just got to perform at a solid level against Rutgers and Michigan State. If you fail us there, Drew, He might be another Sean Clifford.
No.
Okay,
Hey,
well,
Sean Clifford balling out in the
that's
NFL
absurd.
preseason.
Doesn't
I'm
even
just
make it.
saying.
It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make it. That's a worry. If James Franklin decides to run Drew into the ground and make him into a Clifford, Tommy Stevens kind of thing, then we've got issues. But my sleeper, I was gonna go with Rocket at plus 13,000. Rocket centers at Arkansas, but I just don't. Arkansas can't do enough to get him that. I think he's gonna be like. I I think he's going to be an absolute star. I think he's going to do what he needs to become a first round pick. My sleeper finalist, though, thinking the same as Ross, I'm going Florida State edge rusher Jared Verse. If Florida State's going to be in that playoff mix, Jared Verse should have been a top 10 pick in the eyes of many in the 2023 draft. I thought he should have been a top 5 pick. I thought he's one of the best players in the class, bar none. He's one of the best players in the country right now. He's easily a top 3 defensive player in the country. If we were to do like a top 7 players, he's in there as well. He and Perkins are 2 of the best players in the country. So, hey, give me Jared Verse, getting a bunch of pressures, QB hits, sacks. I don't know why I couldn't think of what sacks are called, but and you also have the stuff with him is he's also a very likable guy that's very media friendly and always getting his face out there and just like high effort guy too. He's always in on plays and just so yeah, I'll go with Jared first. Very huge long shots though there from Verse and Perkins.
Yeah, but they shouldn't be because you're right. They're 2 of the best. I mean, people are forgetting if Jared Verse was in the draft in April, he would have gone in the first 10 picks.
Like we do this thing where we give a trophy, a really cool historic trophy to the best player in the country, but it's really just a quarterback award, which is very weird.
And is there ever a way, like I'm just asking, is there ever a way that this system can be fixed where it is not just a quarterback award? And Ndamukong Suh was fairly close in his time, and that's really the last.
Chase Young,
unless I'm forgetting someone. Chase Young, I guess, yeah, he was also up there. I don't know if there's a way that it changes. Yeah,
I kid you not. I think the only fix is like when all these voters like pass and we get like new voters in. Like I think that's the only like I agree. I hate to say it, but you need fresh blood in there. You need us 3 voting and being on the committee and a bunch of these younger college football minds that actually know what the heck they're talking about and actually appreciate the sport as a whole and all the talent that there is instead of just the guy who throws a little pigskin. There's like, come on.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to put them all under one umbrella, but most of the current voters are the people who will just throw on ESPN when game day is on at 9 a.m. and it'll be the only channel on television for all of Saturday. And maybe they'll switch to CBS to watch the SEC.
But turn it off before 7 p.m.
There you go.
Eastern, and then they go to sleep.
Yep.
And the only reason Caleb won is because, he's this big name and he plays for Lincoln Riley and it's USC. I mean, if Caleb Williams played for Kalen DeBauer,
Oregon, Washington,
yeah, it would not have been a thing, I assure you. Because, I mean, otherwise, Michael Penix would have been a Heisman finalist last year.
I mean, this conversation
maybe he should have been a Heisman finalist.
Christian McCaffrey, to me, honestly, is the name I think 100%. About with this. Which I heard, and I listened to Reese Davis earlier this week talk about how he thought the whole just because Christian played in the West Coast thing that's the reason he didn't win it was just BS. Which I think there's some truth to that, but also Reese did point out that Christian wasn't elite for that first month of the season. He really came on at the end, but I think that's another guy you could throw in that mix.
But the issue, I get that saying he's not elite in the first month of the season or whatever, but what are we doing? Like it's still the whole thing with. Well, me and my brother told my dad to go bet Lamar Jackson to win the Heisman the year that he did win the Heisman, and he didn't do it. Lamar obviously put himself on the map the Charlotte game in the season opener got him kind of on the map, but it still took a few weeks for him to truly encapsulate the college football world. And he obviously didn't start slow. I'm not saying that, but there are guys that will start slowly. Caleb Williams only won at Oregon State by 3 last season, and I mean, there's other cases if my brain could think of them where a guy isn't going like nuts in the first month. It just doesn't actually matter in these voters' minds. It's about the recency bias and what happens in the final weeks leading up to the vote. That it's what's in their head most recently that's winning the vote. So I mean, the whole McCaffrey first month thing is a farce. That's not it. It was like he played for Stanford on the West Coast, and the voters, much like Stanford fans, were not watching those games.
Very true. They were too busy putting their noses in textbooks. There you go. I mean, in my opinion, the perfect encapsulation of what the Heisman has become, if you just look at every school that's won it in the last several years, USC, Alabama, you know, LSU.
Yeah, if
Oklahoma,
you probably go back
Oklahoma.
to you go back to Lamar as probably the last school that was
Yeah,
a little bit outside of the realm.
he's
of
such
that
an outlier.
You truly have to go nuclear to get these guys' attention. Like it's utterly insane, man. Lamar, think about what Lamar had to do just to win it. On a solid Louisville team that he made look outstanding. Never forget what they did against Florida State. Oh my gosh! But
I mean, yeah, they put like 63 on them. I saw that Louisville team live actually because my sister attended UVA at the time, and so I went to watch Louisville play at UVA, and Lamar threw a game-winning touchdown, like a perfect pass into the corner of the end zone. I actually was at my first two ever UVA college football games was Notre Dame 2015, which spawned the meme of the guy hanging over, right, where Deshaun Kaiser threw a perfect fade to the end zone. That was one end, and the next year was the other end when Lamar threw it, and that was when I was like, oh no, this guy's. I mean, obviously we saw what he did against like Charlotte, Syracuse, Florida State, but that was the first game where I was like, as a quarterback, like as a thrower of the football, I was like, okay, no, this guy's not stoppable at all. So wish they beat Clemson, but you're absolutely right. It takes a once in a lifetime talent for people to be like, oh, there's one of like the, other than these 5 teams we know that can play football, these other guys also play football.
What a crazy concept. There's some absolute monsters that are playing at non-brand name schools. I still think it's wild that Jarrett Stearns now. I know Assen won the Politnikoff, but Jarrett Stearns put up outrageous numbers. And Marvin, I thought, won the Politnikoff last year, but what can you do?
Yeah, I mean, what can you do? I mean,
I'll just keep doing my best as a voter to.
Thank you. I tip my cap. It's back-to-back years that somebody got robbed is all I'm gonna say.
All right, we'll move on to playoff picks and national champion. Who we can't. These guys can't possibly be robbed in any capacity.
Probably not.
All right, Parker, we'll go with you for your playoff picks and national championship.
Yeah, I'm just sick of chalk. So I mean, I this 4 is going to be just who I think they're all perfectly capable of doing it. Are they who I 100% am the most confident doing it? No, but it's who I'm going to go with. So I've got Alabama as my number 1. That's the most chalk pick I've really got in there. I think big bounce back year for Saban and co. I think they kind of reclaim their throne atop the country, atop the SEC, especially beating Georgia in the SEC title game. I'm with you on the Drew Lar hype train. I'm with you on the Penn State hype train in general. I've got them as my number 2 seed. Got Florida State sliding right behind them at number 3. And then I've got USC at number 4, with USC being, well, I take that back. Penn State number 3, FSU number 2. FSU unbeaten, Bama unbeaten, Penn State, USC each with 1 loss apiece. I've got Bama versus, I believe it was, I've got Florida State, Bama in the championship game. Bama comes out on top. Nick Saban gets yet another ring. Bama reclaims their throne. Tuscaloosa's happy yet again for the first time in a couple of years. And everybody gets to get sick of watching another parade and championship go to that town.
You know what that smells like?
What does it smell like?
2017.
Yes.
A playoff with Alabama, Florida State, and Penn State. Those were like, I think the top 3 teams in the preseason poll in 2017. They had so much hype, I remember, because that was a game DeAndre Francois tore his Achilles, right, against Alabama in the opener. So,
and that time is really different if he doesn't do that. Yeah, I wonder.
Yeah, hugely different. I mean, and that was, Jalen Hurts started that year in Atlanta for Alabama, and Tua ended it. So, yeah. Very, very strange, very interesting year, but time is truly a flat circle. I don't mind any of those picks, though. I mean, I do like Penn State. I think so. I think the final year of the 14 playoff is going to be like the most agonizing for the casual fan who like is sick of seeing the same team, sick of seeing the big conferences. I think it's going to be a year. In my mind, there's five. Wow, I'm going to sound like a Heisman voter. There's five really good teams and everybody else. So I think it's Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State. Those are my five huge teams, right? So I think Georgia and Alabama both go undefeated in the regular season. Winner is the number one team of the SEC title game. They're the number one team in the country. I think it'll be Georgia. And I think Bama stays at number two because the other three teams, Penn State, Ohio State, and Michigan, are each going to just cannibalize themselves, right? I think the home team is going to win each of those matchups in the regular season. So Ohio State loses in Penn State loses in Columbus, Ohio State loses in Ann Arbor, and I think Michigan actually loses in Happy Valley. So everyone ends the year 11-1, and I've crunched the numbers on this. If that is the case, the Big Ten East winner is going to be the team whose non-division opponents have the highest winning percentage combined, right? And if that ends up being the case, Ohio State is going to win the division because their Big Ten West opponents are much more formidable than that of Penn State or Michigan.
It
Obviously,
it's the Big Ten West, not non-conference.
Not the non-conference.
Okay.
It's and it's not
Congrats,
even the other
Michigan.
teams in the Big Ten East.
Congrats,
Yeah, I
Michigan.
mean, again, what are you gonna do?
It would have been great if that non-conference schedule was been in the butt with the tiebreaker like that.
Yeah, it would be great if non-conference schedules mattered at all in this sport, if you ask me.
Yeah,
but
would be,
you can't all get what we want. So, but I think so. Ohio State, they win the Big Ten East. They win the Big Ten title game over whoever. I say Wisconsin personally. Sorry, Liam. And so the question is who gets in at 4, right? Because I think everybody else is going to be a 2+ loss conference champion. We literally can. I think the committee, which is also comprised of a bunch of people who probably should not be doing the thing that they're doing, is going to have to decide between Penn State and Michigan. And I think because Penn State will have beaten Michigan and Michigan will have lost later in the year than Penn State did, they'll slide Penn State in at 4. So I say it goes Georgia, Bama, Ohio State, Penn State. Georgia beats Penn State in the sugar.
I kid you not. I just spun the wheel and it landed on Penn State. I kid you not. What in the world? I was just gonna do this off screen, but like, I can't share my screen. Land on Penn State. I'll take a picture. I'll send it to you for proof.
I mean, there's a real possibility that you have maybe an undefeated Clemson, maybe an undefeated Florida State. There's going to be plenty of teams to consider: Washington, Utah, Oregon, USC, whatever, Texas, if you want to get frisky. But I just think those teams are going to be so far and above the rest in 2023. It'll be Georgia, Bama, Ohio State, Penn State. So Georgia beats Penn State in the sugar. And I think Bama beats Ohio State in the Rose, which Alabama, Ohio State, Rose Bowl sounds like an ideal situation for my brand. And then Georgia beats Bama in the rematch and three-peats.
I can't believe it. The wheels agreed.
It's a sign.
It wasn't the full 133 teams because I haven't added Sam Houston and Jacksonville State to it yet. But 131 team wheel, and for it to land on Penn State like that is just I can't believe that. Okay, my playoff, I've tweeted out, I've got slandered for it, I've got praised for it. It's how it works. One Alabama, I think that they're going to first of all, I think congrats, like the SEC's getting 2 teams in. Whoever makes the SEC title game, they're getting 2 teams in. I have Alabama going undefeated. Georgia going undefeated. I have Alabama being Georgia. I have Alabama again, the 1 seed. Georgia getting 3. Penn State, I also think goes undefeated. That plays into the whole Drew Aller for Heisman thing. So they're getting my 2 seed. And Washington's getting my 4 because in the Pac-12, where I think there is a lot of evenly matched teams and everything, I think the schedule sets up very nicely for Washington. I think that they're I hate seeing people like talk so highly about SC and then they're low on Washington because I just don't understand. I'm not able to grasp that concept where those two teams are evenly matched offensively, and Washington just has a better defense, and they have two very good pass rushers. And if Zach Durfee, a Sioux Falls transfer, if he's eligible, they have three really good pass rushers, and they have a good linebacking core. They have a really good secondaries, we know, with Washington. So I'll take that over a defense that can't tackle me like every day of the week, right? So I'm all in on Washington. I think they'll go 11-1, get in there. And Ryan Grubb's going to be a very hot name for a head coaching gig, a very solid Power 5 school that's going to fire the coach. Maybe like West Virginia, I think you could look at for Ryan Grubb possibly in the coaching carousel. But yeah, when we're talking about Alabama, like I think we're higher on them than consensus. Like I doing my preseason poll, I ranked them number one. I was surprised that they didn't get any votes to be number one, the AP poll. I thought that was appalling to me, especially with Alabama's brand and everything. But the good thing here for Alabama is Nick Saban's going back to the basics. They don't need a star-studded quarterback this year. We're taking this thing back to the early 2010s where they're just going to line up across from you and they're going to like throw you out of the stadium. They're going to dominate some of their opponents in extreme fashion. And their defense is very underrated. We talk a lot about Kool-Aid. Dallas Turner doesn't even get enough respect. People are too low on him. They're not talking about enough about him. Why? Because he played next to Will Anderson last year and wasn't able to put up outrageous production. That doesn't make sense. He's going to go nuts. Deontay Lawson's a very strong linebacker, incredible talent, high IQ. He's going to be like, he's going to be a stud on Sundays, and nobody's talking about him yet because they don't know about him. Like that's the thing we got to do is we've got to project, we've got to enlighten, we've got to educate people. Alabama's offensive line is also elite. We talk about the right side with Booker and Latham. That's so elite, and their running game is going to be good, and the offensive line is going to do outstanding work in the run game and the pass game. The receiving corps is misunderstood. I tweeted a million times last year that they were playing the wrong guys, so I'm curious to see what happens this year. But like, you've got to get like guys like Shash Preston in there that just bring some juice to the table and killed after the catch. But again, at the end of the day, Ja'Cory Brooks is going to go nuts this year. And when you really look at Alabama as a whole, I don't see how you can't be infatuated with this team. The people that are just want Nick Saban to be done, the Saban is over party, I don't really get it, because I think this Alabama team is like incredible when you're looking at it on paper. So I have them in national championship. I have Penn State winning. Of course, Fingley, I have Penn State being yeah, okay. But yeah, I just at the end of the day, because to his tangent again.
To that Alabama point, though, it's a tale as old as time. You know, Dallas Turner being a very prominent example, but one of many of 4 or 5-star recruits at Bama biding their time until they're an upperclassman and becoming superstars. All these people are saying, "Oh, well, Bama doesn't have the stars that we usually think about." Who are their guys this year? You're not going to know about them until week 3 or week 4, but when you know about them, they're going to be all Americans. That's all that matters. So
exactly.
I really don't have any concerns with that. I think a lot of people are they were almost spoiled by 2020 or 20, starting with Tua all the way through Mac Jones and Bryce Young, where, you got star power everywhere, wide receivers, stuff like that. That wasn't what Saban started Bama with. And that's not what he needs to win.
No, it's going to be like, the whole Coker and Sims and like that era of quarterback. That's what it's going to be for him. And that's okay. It's going to win them a lot of games. And Saban's going to go out there and do it without a star quarterback. It's going to be nuts. But the reason why I'm in on Penn State and why I don't get when people like question you for picking Penn State is they have a guy that we think could be a Heisman winning quarterback or at least a contender. He definitely isn't a pretender. They have 2 elite running backs. They have a really solid tight end room. They have a future franchise left tackle, underrated receiving corps. People never give Penn State receivers respect. That's a tale as old as time. Lambert Smith is really good. Dante Cephas is super underrated. I love watching him at Kent State. He is so tough and physical. The defense has 2 really good edge rushers. They have a very good linebacking course. They have a shutdown CB1 and a really good secondary to complement. Like, team is just loaded. So yeah, that's why I've got Penn State. I'm sorry for talking so much.
No, you're absolutely right. You can Penn State, in terms of its stars at the top, they can go band for band with literally any team in the country, including Georgia.
Yeah.
I mean, Abdul Carter, Chop Robinson, Kalen King, all those guys on defense. That defense is going to be way better than I think people, because
really,
obviously, yeah, the offense gets a lot of love because they have the guys we know. The defense has the guys maybe people don't know, and people are going to learn really, really quickly what that defense is capable of. I think they are built to handle a Michigan offense better than an Ohio State offense, which is why I think they beat Michigan but lose to Ohio State. Like the matchups in the Big Ten are just so weird, right? Because like Michigan has the blueprint to beat Ohio State, Penn State has the blueprint to beat Michigan, and I think Ohio State has a blueprint to beat Penn State. So it's going to be a carousel. But I just think you're right. They're insanely talented across the board. I would be really surprised if they're not at least in the conversation, and I don't see a world where they lose both games. I think, obviously, I'm not putting anything past James Franklin, but you're right. It's a 2-game schedule. If they lose both games, season is a huge disappointment.
I completely agree. And if they only win 9 games in a regular season, might be time to move on.
I agree.
You swallow the money and just find somebody who can get it done.
Because this is this should be their dream season. This is the perfect opportunity.
Yeah, you split those games and you're fine with it. But I even think, sweeping them while unrealistic is certainly possible, and I think it's something that Penn State fans, if Alar steps up to how he should be, they honestly should expect it, just based on Ohio State's questions at quarterback, and then Michigan's been on top for so long. If you're going to dethrone them at some point, it's got to be this year.
Yeah, we'll go to one last kind of topic here before we dive into the whole week 0 slate and just pick games and players to watch, etc. Most surprising team we'll start with, and then we'll go most disappointing team after that discussion.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and start it, and they've been a trendier pick. I'm not kind of going too far out of the realm of what people are thinking, but I am a big fan of Texas Tech this year. I think the quarterback situation, we're going to see how that plays out. You got a couple of guys. I know Liam feels very passionately about one of them. A couple of guys I think could really start. I think that might be an ongoing competition, but if they can avoid that trap at Wyoming to open the season, I think that lines up for them to get a really quality win over Oregon in week 2. I think they're certainly capable of winning that game. And then their conference slate is not the worst in the world. The at Texas game is probably the only game you look at as, an quote unquote automatic loss, but you get K-State at home, and you pull a lot of the new teams as well on that schedule. I think this is a team that now has that quietly. They have the talent and depth that's needed to compete for a Big 12 title. And I've got them finishing runner up to Texas this season in the Big 12. And I think they'll finish, probably top 15, top 20, probably making a nice Alamo Bowl appearance or something along those lines. Not quite New Year's 6, but almost there.
See, I also have them as the runner-up to Texas, but if Bayron Morton was the day one starting quarterback from the get-go, they'd be my Big 12 champ.
There we go. Figured he'd get his name dropped pretty soon.
Needed to.
Hey, Chuck has the experience, right? We love experience in college football. No, we do not.
Silence. Just dead silence. Did you see what the Texas Bowl tweeted out? That they're past 4 Texas Bowl winners have gone on to I think it was all the Sugar Bowl. I could be wrong, but I think they've all made it to the Sugar Bowl the very next season.
Huh. It's a nice trend.
Well, you never know.
Invest in tech.
I put 2 for each category. One of them was for the surprise team, Texas Tech. But you're right, it is more of a trendy pick. They're almost getting too much love from the national media, if that makes sense. And it makes me makes me very, very spooked. But Parker laid it out pretty perfectly. Everything is there for there to either potentially be the Shuck revenge game of the century, or we never see him play college football again. One of those seems more pleasant to the eye than the other. But anything, I think there's no other team in the Big 12, at least at the top, that the gap between their ceiling and their floor is that big than it is with Texas Tech, right? Because they could be a New Year's Six team or they could be like a 7-win team. It is a pretty easy schedule. Obviously going to Texas is never easy, but you never know what can happen.
Game. Like that's Black
it's
Friday, right?
possible.
It's last game of the season.
That's last game of the year.
Yeah. I like them weighing that than losing to Texas in the Big 12 championship, unless Bayron started. But
anything can happen over the course of the season.
That kid could sling a football, and I can't wait for people to realize it. My surprise team, I didn't go with the Red Raiders. I went with the Golden Gophers. I like Minnesota a lot. I don't think that Big Ten West, all the talk is Iowa. Their offense coordinator needs to score 25 points per game or else he's getting canned. Are we really going to throw all our eggs into that basket? That seems like a recipe for absolute disaster. And then Wisconsin, we already know my thoughts there, so I'm not going to drown you guys in all the milk with it. I like Minnesota a lot. Tanner Morgan's gone. So what? Their passing game just got better. Muhammad Ibrahim is gone. They don't have to run the ball to him 50 times a game for 3.6 yards per carry. They got better. Ethan Kaliakmanis is also going to be an extraordinary piece. His throwing power, as if it's like a 92 rating or something. That kid could sling the rock too. And you look at their receiving corps, dude. Chris Ottman-Bell's there for his 19th year in college football. Great veteran presence. Elijah Spencer's a very nice transfer, low-key from Charlotte. Corey Crooms, I kid you not, it's going to sound nuts that I say it, but you'll understand the draft process. He's not going to go as high, but Corey Crooms might be the best receiver that Western Michigan has produced, and that includes Corey Davis. I do not care. Corey Crooms is so complete, and I've been tweeting it. He's better than Sky Moore, and he's better than Dwayne Eskridge. Like, he's just better than those two guys. He's way more complete of a receiver. What you're going to see from Cruz this year is going to be a true – I can't call him a breakout player because he's already broke down on the max stage. But this is going to be a name that gets talked about by all the notable media people and everything. Corey Crooms is really going to excite some people, and I think they offers a very intriguing game. And I can tell you right now, there are dudes lining up to try and be his agent and get this guy. He's going to be a trendy NFL name. So remember Corey Crooms. And then, they still have a nice running game. Quinn Carroll's a very good offensive lineman. Brevin Spanford, obviously the best blocking tight end in the country. And on defense, Tyler Nubin and Justin Wally are very good safety corner duo in that order. So I like the Ghosts, man. I do.
I hope you're right.
Thank you.
I want to see Minnesota back in the spotlight. 2019 feels like a lifetime ago.
It does. Looking at their schedule, I don't know how you guys feel about North Carolina, but I think that they could go to UNC and win that game. And I just think that they beat Michigan. I just do.
I can't endorse that. I don't mind saying they beat North Carolina. North Carolina is not the best team in their own 10-mile radius. So that's totally fine. But I think it might be a lot to ask for them to beat Michigan. That's a tough spot.
Michigan, you're sponsored by PJ Fleck.
It's the first tough game of Michigan's schedule. They have the cupcake non-conference, then you're at Rutgers, then you're at Nebraska. Now you're going to play at Minnesota. You're treading water. You're, if that's even the term, you're walking on water, I guess. You're having a good time, fun time, playoff, you're eyeing it, good vibes, and then you go to Minnesota and PJ Fleck dots you in a 23-21 thriller.
And they reclaimed the little brown jug as well. That'd be awesome.
That's right.
I'm here for it. Hey, Liam is on the boat. Row the boat this year. Let's row the boat. How about it?
Yeah. Anything is possible. And Minnesota, when Penn State went to Minnesota in 2019, they learned the hard way, right? Minnesota almost got Ohio State at home in 2021. So if they have this trend of doing this, either beating or giving some scaries to these Big Ten teams, the Big Ten East teams that come over. So anything is possible. I can't endorse it in full confidence.
It's fine. You only have to see it to believe it when it happens.
I'm very ready to eat crow if you prove me wrong. I will be there with a fork and a knife, I assure you.
Look, I'll probably be wrong because the odds aren't in my favor. But again, at the end of the day, I think Minnesota did a lot of addition with subtraction being some of their additions. I think they got better, and I don't. People just aren't high on them. Whatever, it doesn't mean anything that people aren't high about them on August 22nd. You'll know in the fall. Disappointing team though. Who's gonna collapse?
Yeah, I've got it's tough for me to say this because if there's any coach in the country I trust, it is Kyle Whittingham. But I think just based on the makeup of the Pac-12 this year and what they lost, and Whittingham has made a great habit out of reloading every year, and I think he's going to do the same thing this year. But I think by their recent standards, it's going to be disappointing. I see 7 to 8 wins this season, probably tops, and I think they could still do that and go undefeated in non-conference play, beat both Florida and Baylor, but they could lose those games. But I think they could fall behind even Oregon State in the standings. They got to go to Corvallis. And then you just look at that mid-October slate at USC versus Oregon back-to-back weeks. I hate how that's messed up or kind of placed. And then Washington in November also on the road. Just a lot of very difficult games in the schedule where you don't know. I mean, yes, Cam Rising should eventually, maybe not by week 1 be 100%, but should eventually be 100%. I don't love not having a quarterback that's, kind of in the groove of things early on in the season and maybe has to catch up later on. I think the schedule is not very favorable for them. And I think I think they'll fall. A lot of people are considering that top 4, USC, Utah, Washington, Oregon. I think Utah slides to 5th. I'm fairly high on Oregon State, at least to beat Utah and slide ahead of them. So by their standards, disappointing. Still overall a solid season. I think they're competitive in most of these games as well. They're going to challenge these teams. I think they're just going to be on the wrong end of it for the first time in a couple of years.
I think one of their problems is they have a very talented dual threat option, Nate Johnson, as a good a solid second option to Cam Rising, and they don't want to commit to that. They want more of a pure pocket passer, and they like using Nate for gadget stuff. And if they gave the keys to him as the QB2, and I'd be more confident in Utah. I'm not confident in the other quarterbacks that they possess. Rising and Johnson, I don't like what they have otherwise. So if Rising, if that becomes a storyline, not good for him. So I see I see the vision.
I'm going to stick in the Pac-12. I've kind of dropped hints, I guess, breadcrumbs throughout, but I have a couple teams that I'm thinking about,
rats.
But I'm leaning much more towards one, which is USC. I just think we're too much kind of focused on what happened last year and not kind of focusing on where we're going this year. Mainly the fact that I don't know that I saw enough improvement in the offseason where they needed to improve. The fact that Alex Grinch is still employed at USC, I think, is the biggest indicator that this team is not going to be where they want to be this year. And I say that from vast experience. The Pac-12 championship game last year, defensively, and even the Cotton Bowl against Tulane are just some of the most embarrassing defensive performances you'll ever see from a school of that caliber with those level of athletes. There's no reason they should have ever been just ragdolled by both of those teams. I mean, Tulane, you might say you could use the SEC bowl argument right there. They didn't care. The other team wanted it more, whatever. But for them to get embarrassed the way they did by Utah, I think should have woken something up inside of them that they stayed asleep for the entire offseason. And I think that's a huge problem, especially with the Pac-12 as strong as it is this season. The Pac-12 is going to go out with a bang, which I'm very pleased to say.
That's
Obviously,
sad to hear.
I hope they would not go out at all. I know, but I think they're going to
go out with a bang.
I say as I have 0 Pac-12 teams in my playoff.
It's going to be fun though.
Yeah, I do think Washington is really good. I think Oregon is really good. I do think Utah has what it takes to be really good, but like Parker said, they could run into some issues. I love the Beavs, I think UCLA can still kind of
Oh,
be in the
dude.
conversation. I
You
mean,
should have heard. You
Yeah.
should have heard what I have UCLA going.
I have in my notes USC second best team in their own state, question mark.
To Cal? I had
Stanford?
UCLA. I had UCLA winning like 6 or 7 games. I'm so low on them. Oh, that
No,
defense.
it's got to
I'm
be
very
Stanford
skeptical.
2-10, right, versus USC 3-9.
Ooh,
I mean,
I'm very skeptical of UCLA for what it's worth.
yeah, UCLA, they could just be in a position where it's like they win a couple of games and they get ranked like 24th and they just don't win a game for like 6 weeks.
Like, I unironically like what Cal has more on paper than what UCLA has.
I
think
do
Cal's
like
more
Cal. I think Cal's
talented.
definitely like bowl caliber.
I love Dante Moore, and I can't wait to see how he develops. So we're talking about right here, right now. I don't think they set up for the level of success that could be like. I can't believe we're talking about UCLA right now. I don't know how we got here, but like Dante Moore to J. Michael Sturdivant, I've tweeted it. Will make a grown man cry. That is a disgusting quarterback receiver duo. The rest of the team, I have a lot of question marks about. I love Carson Steele and TJ Hart in the backfield as well, but the defense I'm worried about. I understand the hesitancy to USC that you have. Again, Pac-12 championship and the New Year's Six Bowl versus Tulane, they couldn't tackle you, me, or Parker. Like it's disgusting. Kalen Bullock gets talked about like he's one of the premier safeties in the sport. He's not because he can't tackle you, viewer. Like unless like Justin Jefferson's out there, then like props to you, man. He definitely can't tackle you. But yeah, Jay Jazz listens, so it's no biggie. But like they have a lot of issues, dude. And you talk about number 16 being your disappointing team. I could one up you. Number 5 team, my most disappointing team. It's LSU, man. I could see LSU starting 1-2 out the gates, losing to Florida State, losing at Mississippi State. I don't understand why Mississippi State's talked so lowly upon. I get that they don't have Coach Leach anymore. I get that, but look how much that they returned. And Will Rogers gets talked about like he's some mediocre run of the mill dude. It's a very good quarterback, proficient quarterback. So I have LSU starting 1-2 out the gates. Then I think that I don't see them being Alabama. So there's a third loss, and like I can see them losing to Ole Miss too. That's 4 losses, and at Mizzou's not an easy game either. And the issue here is when we talk about LSU, when they talk about LSU, they talk about how close they were last year. Yeah, they only lost by 1 to Florida State. They got smoked by Tennessee. Absolutely smoked. Hey, it seems like nobody cares about that. Nobody cares about that.
At home as well, by the way.
The Texas A&M loss. It's
Unspeakable.
fine. It's all cool. It's nothing because why?
Because they beat Bama. It's the only reason.
Yeah.
It's mind-boggling. We only talk about the good that they had in 2022 and not the bad, and it doesn't make sense. And at the end of the day, what does 2022 matter for 2023? It doesn't at all. So when we talk about LSU, let's look at the again, this is the whole quarterback thing. I'd be more confident in this team if not more confident. I'm stumbling on so many words. Oh, because we start talking about USC's inability to tackle. Now I'm stumbling. And diving at offensive ball carriers' feet. I'd be more confident in LSU if Nussmeier was the quarterback because I think that LSU is set up for more success if they were throwing the ball a lot more and utilizing the receiver talent that they have, like Malik Neighbors, like in Aaron Anderson breaking out. Jaden Daniels doesn't want to do that, and I don't want to hear people saying like, no, he could change after a year. He's the same quarterback that we saw as a freshman at Arizona State. Nothing's changed in his game. He's still the guy that won. His over-under for touchdown passes is 18.5. If you don't take that under, this is a guy that is he's a fun player to watch, but he's selfish and he wants to run the ball himself. He wants to do things himself. He doesn't take this team to the next level like an LSU quarterback should, and that's a big reason why I'm lower on LSU than everyone else. I love the pieces on the defense. Mr. Perkins, Mason Smith, Makai Wingo, Deuce Chestnut's going to be a nice player for them. The offense worries me because I don't think Jay Daniels elevates them like a quarterback should.
I mean, I I feel the way about that you feel about LSU about Florida State. Because I think LSU beats Florida State. So Florida State starts out 0-1, and then they lose against Clemson. So Florida State starts season 2-2. It's over. I think LSU is talented enough to win that game against Florida State. Losing to Mississippi State would definitely be something. But I mean, I like the guys they have on both sides of the ball. I thought even though last year they had snags, I thought overall they overachieved. I was not expecting them to be as good and as competitive as they were. Because I didn't even like the Brian Kelly hire, if I'm being completely honest. But last year I thought, especially as the season was kind of winding down, like, yeah, they had weird games against Arkansas, Texas A&M. That game against Tennessee was unforgivable. We only remember them beating Alabama. But for most parts of the season, I was like, okay, they got a good thing going. And I just think they returned a lot of great guys. They were able to do a lot of what they did last year with Kayshon Boutte just not really being a part of the whole picture. I think Malik Neighbors is going to be that real wide receiver one this year. I don't dislike the take about Nuss, though, because what he was doing against Georgia kind of opened my eyes a little bit, even though it was meaningless. But
you would be more in on this LSU team if they had a pure passer at quarterback, and to throw the rock to these talented receivers that could do so much after the catch too, and in the red zone. Like, I'd be so much more in on them.
I mean, yeah, because if you look at you look at that 2022 slate for them, it was you're one play away from losing to Alabama, essentially a couple inches away. That puts you at 8-4 with a loss to Texas A&M, a game against Tennessee in which you did not look like you should be on the same playing field as them, and then a close loss to Florida State in which, I mean, that extra point, they kind of fumbled that game away. But the reality is, yeah, they got some fortunate bounces. They got lucky last year, and then they also had some games that they did not show up in. The schedule gets tougher this year overall. All signs are pointing to that. I do agree. I think LSU, out of any team in the SEC that's going to disappoint, it's LSU.
And isn't it funny looking back at that LSU Florida State game? And that game was such a mid-off, and now it's two of the premier teams entering the 2023 season. I was all in on Florida State entering that game, like to beat LSU. I'm in the same boat. I'm pretty confident Florida State gets it done again. But the funny thing is, like, we look at games like LSU at Mississippi State, and then I'll use this one too, the Michigan at Minnesota one. I mean, look at those games now, and it's like there ain't no way that team could lose. And that happens. And it's like, oh, college football's outdone itself again. So
yeah, I mean, nobody thought Georgia would be in a dogfight at Mizzou last year. Or at home against Kent State. So
no, yeah, college football's getting college football. There truly are no actual outlandish takes in this sport. But
no, if there's anything I've learned, it's that I only know when Ohio State's going to play against teams that I'm like, oh no, they're going to lose or they're going to have trouble. Everything else is completely thrown out the window.
That sense. We'll move on to some week 0 talk. Players to watch this week. We'll do one Power 5 guy, one Group of 5 / FCS guy. Who wants to begin?
I can go ahead. I'll start us off real quick. Power 5, I guess Notre Dame is technically not in the Power 5, but we're going to go ahead and throw him in there, I would assume. I want to see and he's entering a backfield that's already got some established presences, but I want to see if Notre Dame is up in that second half. Jeremiah Love, highly touted freshman running back for Notre Dame, if he gets touches and kind of what kind of impact he can have, and just Notre Dame is going to be in search of game-changing playmakers throughout this season to go along with Hartman. I think if Love can become that guy, then he could certainly impress people starting out with a week 1 showing here. And then my other guy, shout out to our good friend Dylan at Transfer Portal. I will shout out Diego Pavia, New Mexico State. He should put up some great numbers at home against UMass on Saturday night, en route to having one of the better seasons a New Mexico State quarterback has ever had at that university. So give me Diego Pavia. Highest of praise, exactly.
I like the Love shout out too.
Yeah, those are my guys for sure.
I'm gonna go with two quarterbacks. I'm also going to
Look at this Heisman voter.
not yeah, my career covering college football is off to a great start. I am interested to see Sam Hartman in Notre Dame. Because again, I think they are going to have some growing pains, maybe at first, at least to start this game. But everybody is saying that he's going to be the guy to take Notre Dame to the next level. They've been missing this, all world quarterback since, I don't know, the 1970s. So if he looks like they got the guy they want him to look like, I think that'll be really telling. And this more than anything else is going to be the game that gets Notre Dame the momentum they need. They would need to beat Ohio State in week 4. So like if Sam Hartman goes out there and really struggles against Navy, that's not a sorry, there's a guy just like I said, they can't leave me alone. So Sam Hartman's one. And then now in the Conference USA, I gotta show some love to Zion Webb in Jacksonville State. I'm very excited to see Jacksonville State in the CUSA. That game, I don't think they're going to win. I mean, UTEP is one of the better teams that's out there. I think UTEP is a team that could make a run at a New Year's Six bowl.
Wait. The quote of UTEP is one of the better teams that is out there is so good.
It is.
They're in the mix with Georgia and Alabama.
Hey, Kent State's in the mix with Georgia. If we're kind of just going on numbers.
You don't want to get me started on Kent State this season.
Is coming after you.
I don't know. UTEP had a great year last year, and they're gonna have a good year this year. They could make a run at a New Year's Six bowl. I think they're going to win on Saturday, but I'm excited to see Jacksonville State. That's a team that's earned its shot, I think, and Zion Webb is an electric-ish kind of guy. If he gets a shot, I think he can make it work. This is a good stage for them to go out and make an early statement in the CUSA, and I think he's going to be the guy to continue elevating that program. So I'm very excited to watch one of those two JSUs go at it this weekend.
I really like that they're getting. They've always, I don't know what it is. Jacksonville State has always had these very early games in their season, dating back to their FCS days, obviously, where they're playing week 0 on ESPN at a neutral site in Montgomery, Alabama, against another FCS team. And Zion Webb's been there since like 2010. It's incredible. But I like that shout. For me, I went double running back. I guess I'm a Doak Walker guy. I'm going true freshman at Vanderbilt, Cedric Alexander. The Vandy depth chart was released today, and he was listed at 3rd. But I think he's going to get a lot of touches this season. I think he's going to be a breakout player. Super underrated, obviously. We're talking about a true freshman running back at Vanderbilt. Ain't nobody know who he is. He's got a lot of juice. He's electric. He's going to be a fun guy to watch. And I think Vanderbilt's very strong RB1 for the upcoming years that Clark Lee's trying to get him to be a number 1 team in the country. So having Cedric's going to be a very nice addition. And I'm very excited to see what he does in his collegiate debut against a Hawaii team that should not be very good. I should have shouted out Cam Stone, who's on Hawaii at corner, because I think he's basically like that very fancy car in the trailer park meme. Like that's Cam Stone, this Hawaii team. But my group 5 guy, everyone's thinking, wow, Curtis Rourke, here we go. Nope. I'm going C.A. Bangura. I'm going with the running back at Ohio. Very underrated as well. The group 5 has so many elite running backs, and he's right there in the mix. He ran for over 1K last season, near 5 yards to carry, 13 touchdowns on the ground, add like 8.5 yards per catch. He is a ball player. C.A. Bangura, tough guy, tough as nails, fun to watch, good player. You're going to have fun watching him against San Diego State. Now game picks. Alas, we'll have to run through these quickly because we've been on here for 16 hours. First game, Navy Notre Dame in Dublin, Ireland. That was not.
Yeah, I guess. In an effort to keep it pretty rapid fire, I'll keep it quick. No, I think Notre Dame comes out on top. I think Navy probably gives them a bit of a scare early on, but I'm looking at something along the lines of 31-14. Sam Hartman has a solid day, nothing crazy. It's more of a feel out game for that offense.
Yeah, I like Notre Dame as well. I was gonna try and bust out an Irish accent. I'm not gonna embarrass myself.
Not worth it.
I had an Irish homeroom teacher at middle school for 2 years, and after leaving middle school, I no longer have an Irish accent in my vocabulary. But I think Notre Dame wins. If I had to give a score, I mean, I like Navy against the spread, and I like the under. I think it's going to be like 20-13 or something very ugly. You just know it's going to be ugly.
Well, thank you for the college game day-esque pick there for the Irish, the information there. Staying on that theme, I mean, look at me. I can't pick against Notre Dame in Ireland. I can't do that. So I'm taking Notre Dame, obviously. North Alabama, Mercer. Huge one. Like I said, Montgomery, Alabama. They've always got one of these week 0 kickoff games. Showdown here.
I will pick Mercer purely because I grew up about an hour away from their campus. So go Bears. And I mean, I know they have been a quality program at the FCS level for a couple years now. I'll ride with Mercer.
If I really wanted to give a college game day answer here, I would say in the town I grew up in, the small neighborhood in Northern Virginia, we had a middle school named Mercer Middle School. I did not end up going to that middle school because we had an overpopulation issue when I had to build a new middle school. But in alternate reality, Roz, I went to Mercer Middle. Give me Mercer in Montgomery.
Okay, I'll actually give you Ty James, receiver at Mercer. He's a dang good ball player. We were putting out graphics last year for leading receivers, FBS plus FCS. He was always up there for his receiving yards numbers. So look for him to do some damage. Also, Devin Harper's a very good WR2. They have two of the best receivers in all the FCS. So I'm taking Mercer for that very reason. I'm very excited for Ty James to get his national exposure. UTEP, Jacksonville State, huge one.
I'll go out on a limb and I'll believe in Mr. Rich Rod and I'll believe in the debut of Jacksonville State. I think they're going to get it done. Very close game, something along the lines of 2017, 24-21. But I think Jacksonville State pulls it out over a solid, I mean, as Raza talked about, a solid UTEP team. I think this will be a quality win for the Gamecocks.
Yeah, I would love to roll with Jacksonville State. I just think, there's some precedent here. I like UTEP a lot. Good team last year. It should be a good team this year. It's going to be 1 trillion degrees, but it's not like they can't play in that. So I do think it'll be close. I think it'll be, honestly, the most fun game of the weekend.
Experts think.
Yeah.
Most fun game of the weekend.
I can see it.
I think it's a real possibility. That Ohio San Diego State game, I think, is going to be a lot of fun as well. But
that game's
my eyes are going to be here.
I am picking UTEP as well. Tyron Smith, playmaker, receiver, went to A&M in the portal and then said, I actually want to stay in El Paso. Look out for him. He's small, but he's explosive. Now for the most fun game of the week, UMass, New Mexico State. It's a sicko Super Bowl kickoff special.
Oh, it is beautiful how that works out. I've already talked about Diego Pavia, and I am most certainly taking New Mexico State. I think they have a great chance to, I don't know the exact number, but it's got to have been a very long, if ever, that they probably never gone back-to-back bowl seasons, actually, I would imagine. So I think they got a great chance to do it this year. I think they start off on the right foot with a pretty comfortable win over UMass.
Yeah, in my notes under UMass and Mexico State, I have it's football game of the week. Like why are you watching it? Well, it's football and it's on television, so why am I not gonna watch it? But there should not be a world where UMass wins this game. Plain and simple.
I'm also on New Mexico State. I actually like Jordan Mahoney, though, corner at UMass is a very good ball player as well. So keep eyes on him. The whole fancy car and trailer park meme, that's Mahoney on UMass. He's too good to play there. He could have a big season, work his way up through the portal to a Power 5 next season. Don't be surprised. The actual game that you'll be watching in this time slot. When you'll have New Mexico State UMass game on another TV or screen, but Ohio at San Diego State. This is huge. This is like everything we've been waiting for the last however many days.
Yeah, I think I don't. I like both of these teams. I like Ohio more, and with Rourke being back, I think they narrowly win, low scoring, close game. How we expect it to be, physical defensive battle. I think Ohio's got a little bit more talent, and I think they got a little bit more explosive ability on offense, and I think that ends up pushing them uh, through to this game. And I think as a result, they become the favorites in the MAC. You can throw Toledo in there as well, but with this win early on, they become the favorites in the MAC, I would imagine.
Yeah, this is a good. This is just fun. I mean, listen. It could be, it could look like a football game straight out of the 1970s, or it could be the most entertaining football game you've ever seen in your life. I am very excited. I think it'll be a tough sort of situation for Ohio. But these are two very good teams, two teams that should easily go to bowl games this year. I just think San Diego State at home.
Well,
it just makes sense, Yeah, give me the home team. I have nothing else to contribute to the
all right, you've made the list, the bad list. I'm obviously taking the Bobbies. Oh yeah, we're taking Ohio. I'm all in on this team, and I like them to win this game like 27-13. I think Ohio's a very good team, and I ain't scared of the San Diego State defense. I don't really care. Ohio's offense, we're talking about Mr. Curtis Rourke, the brother of the best preseason quarterback to ever play, Nathan Rourke. We're acting like Curtis Rourke can't go out there, score 20 plus. Of course he can. This guy, I talked to their tight ends coach, Brian Metz, and he told me Curtis Rourke could throw a football through a keyhole. He's that precise. He's that accurate. You're going to see that on display all Saturday. All Saturday and all season long. Give me the Bobcats. What do you think I'm doing? Picking against them? Fordham Albany. I have nothing for this game, by the way.
I'll go ahead and say Fordham because I have heard about them more recently at the FCS level, and I know they lost some coordinators and such from their offenses, but I would imagine they're still going to field a pretty good one this year and be in playoff contention. So I'll take Fordham on the road.
Yeah, I think Fordham had a great year last year, just like these guys outside are having a great time right now. Yeah, Fordham, great year last year. Albany, not so great last year. Let's say momentum carries over. And also, I used to go to Virginia Commonwealth, and Fordham plays in the same basketball conference as the VCU Rams, meaning I've seen Fordham athletics in person. I know how formidable they are. So give me the inferior Rams in the A-10, I might add.
Nice. Way to add that.
I had to give a shout out to the old boys,
The A-10 basketball politics have entered the college game day segment. So Fordham loses a lot of talent. You got one of their receivers, DeQuise Carter, went to Indiana. Tim DeMora is somewhere kicking it somewhere in the pros. I really don't know. Their coordinators go. I believe their OC went to Old Dominion, if I'm not mistaken. They had another really good receiver. I can't say his last name. His first name was Fotis. I really don't know how to say his last name. He's super productive, though. They lost a lot, but hashtag Ramley.
You said you had nothing on that game.
I thought of stuff. Hawaii at Vanderbilt. I just thought of stuff, man. Hawaii at Vandy.
I think we get a repeat of last year. Vandy absolutely just thumps them, makes a statement week 1, and starts getting ready, geared up for that big Wake Forest matchup, which I believe is week 2, if not week 3. But this will be a good tune-up game for that.
I like Vandy all the way. By the way, it's the last thing I'll say about Vanderbilt. Listen, this might be. I've said some pretty outrageous things on many platforms over the years.
Oh my gosh, what is this game?
I'm going to call my shot right here, right now. Vandy starts the season with a dub and ends the season higher in the standings than Florida.
I don't hate it. I don't hate it. Liam might hate it. I think Liam
What?
hates it. That's all right.
I got your controller, man.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Dude, AJ Swan, Will
What?
Shepherd connection goes crazy this year.
Dude,
AJ Swan
if
and Will Shepherd are a very special duo.
I'll give you a little weird inside info here. There was a guy that ran like a Florida recruiting page, and then it's just like got banned or something. I don't know what happened. And then he DMs me on no context often, and he's like, "Hey, I'm the Florida recruiting guy. This is me now, Vanderbilt recruiting tracker." Why? Like he just flipped the switch like that after he got banned. So he's never gonna know that we talked about that. But the most random thing I've ever seen. So I don't know why. There's a Vandy Florida connection right there, and that guy's probably very happy that you're on the Vandy side of things now.
I'm a pleasure to be of service. I love I love my black and gold schools.
I'm also riding with Vandy here. I don't know how you can't. I don't know if they'll score 800 like they did last year, but I think we could look for them to score 50 plus, drop a 50 burger, make people happy. And people should not make fun of the renovations. That doesn't make any sense. We've seen Mizzou renovate, San Jose State renovate, Texas renovate. Why are you making fun of it? Because it happens during football season. This guy gets done at some time. Better now than when they're actually good in 2025, like Clark says. So don't make fun of them for that. And yeah, you'll see me tweeting memes about it, but I'm not making fun of it. Just like, educating the people. South Carolina State, Jackson State, and ATL.
Oh, I think so much is being made about Jackson State falling off a cliff post Dion. I think they've been hearing that all off season. I think they come out and they put forth a great performance and take home a win in Atlanta.
I'm in the same boat. I know I said earlier, like there's going to be a lot of questions, but at the same time, maybe there's no questions at all because people, if Dion's not there, the eyes are not there. And so I think they'll be fine. I think it's more about what Dion left than Dion leaving himself. I think he's come in there and he's really changed things. And I think this will be a good game for them to go out and show, like, even though he's not here and even though we don't have many of our top guys from last year, the culture here has changed. They go out, they win that game in Atlanta.
There's a lasting impact. It's not like people are thinking, "Oh, Dion's gone. Everything he had left." No, he improved that program in a lot of ways. It's going to persist.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Dion's gone. I think the facilities have basically collapsed now that he's gone. I think all their players left, and no, obviously not that. But I am taking South Carolina State for the strict factor to be contrarian here. I think more people are going to pick Jackson State. I'd rather be on the South Carolina State side, and yeah, that's about that. I just don't have info for this guy. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'd have more info if it was NC Central. San Jose State at USC.
Like I said earlier, I think San Jose State has the potential to at least put some points on the board. I think USC, regardless, is going to drop at least 40 plus. But we'll see. I think this will be a great measuring stick for how much this USC defense has improved. Obviously, defenses make their biggest jumps week 1 to week 2, but a lot of eyes are going to be on how they kind of handle Cordero and that, fairly explosive San Jose State offense. Still USC, probably something like 52-28, something along those lines.
USC is going to win like maybe 8 games this year. This will be one of them. Again, I'm calling my shot. I'm Babe Ruth at the plate right now.
I'm shockingly taking SC here. I can't believe I'm saying this. I think Caleb Williams throws for a touchdown pass. They have the Branch brothers out there from Gorman now at SC. One plays on the defense side of the ball, one plays on the offense. Zachariah Branch that's playing receiver. If you want to talk about electricity and juice and strength and what he could do after the catch, like this is going to be one of the stars of our sport soon enough. So look out for Zachariah Branch and just know that you're going to be hit over the head with endless Tyreek Hill comps from people to this kid until he's drafted and probably still when he's playing in the NFL. It's not going to end. I'm going to hate every second of it, but it just know, like, this is your morning. It's not going to end. Much like the Emeka Ibuka Chris Olave comps will never end once they start. FIU
Which is a terrible
Louisiana
comp,
Tech.
by the way.
Terrible. It's terrible.
It's a
FIU
dreadful comp.
Louisiana Tech. FIU Louisiana.
Yeah, I've got the nightcap. I got Louisiana Tech coming out on top at home. Smoke Harris is stud wide receiver. If y'all have not heard about him before, the viewers. And then also really interested to see Hank Blackmeyer coming over from Boise State. I really thought early on he was going to be the future of the quarterback spot in Boise, but very up and down kind of throughout his career there. With a fresh
The
start,
offensive
kind of,
lineman.
yeah, exactly. So maybe with a fresh start, rekindle some of that freshman year glory, and he and Smoke Harris do some work. But I think they started out with a win.
Yeah, there's nothing like early college football weeks ending with watching Louisiana Tech play football.
I can't wait.
It feels like heritage at this point. This is another team that's like they have no excuse to lose this game. I mean, there's just no excuse. Louisiana Tech wins. They should win big.
They really should. And the spread is what, like 8 or 10? And I think that's a wee bit too low.
Just a little bit.
So their defense was awful last year. They need to make a statement early on this game and show people we could actually play defense this season. I would look for Miles Hurd transfer out there to play better ball. Dakotas Crawford too at wide receiver. The Coldest is here. Finally, the long-awaited debut, we could say, right? I like Marquise Crosby a lot in their backfield. I think he's going to be a star at running back for them. He needs to be healthy, though. He's not healthy going into the year. I'm not even sure if he's going to play in this game. So monitor that if Marquise Crosby plays or not. If he does play, you're going to see a star, though. That's an NFL back right there. And I like Smoke Harris. I do think he's a wee bit overrated, though. So I'm really looking for a very good WR2 to step up and help the team. I think Smoke Harris is a dynamic return man, and he offers some good stuff to the offense. But I just think that I don't think he's enough to be like an alpha WR1. Like, I think that they need some more help in their receiving corps. So just a little Louisiana Tech thought bubble from me there, I suppose.
Perfect. FIU does have some cool Miami Vice uniforms, though. So shout those out.
That is true.
Yeah. FIU. I have more to say about Kent State.
No.
Sorry. Okay, I won't go there. We talked ball for like an hour and a half or whatever. Gotta let you go, Ross. I'm sorry. We can't do the 4 hours promised.
I was really looking forward to it. No bathroom breaks, no intermission, no nothing.
Yeah, I'm sorry, man. No, the cost of the concession stands was also pretty high. I'm sorry.
That's more understandable. You know, we can't just $10 popcorns.
Benz it.
I mean, $10 popcorn versus $10 5-course meal. Big difference.
We'll work harder for next season and be better about it, or next time we have you on. Who knows? But if y'all haven't followed Raza, you're tripping. His ads been on the screen the entirety of this podcast. So why haven't you followed him? Please make sure to like and subscribe as well. It helps us plenty. And let us know what game you're most looking forward to this week. What player you think is going to have the best performance of the week. Like, let us know everything you're thinking about week 0. And we'll catch you another time. Some would say for week 1. That's coming up. Goodbye.
Peace.